Hello, Martin. How are you?
Hello, Aris. How are you doing?
Excellent. So it's a new Monday, new ice cream session. Are you ready for with a new ice cream?
Absolutely. Do you want
Oh,
some?
virtual?
Well, I'll tell you what, which would you prefer? A double zero ice cream or a number two ice cream?
Well, actually, number two.
Number two. You're going for
Num-
the stiff one, are you? The
yeah,
one straight from the freezer. Look
exactly.
at that.
Exactly.
Now,
Something like
we
that.
talk about number two there. And of course, many of you might have seen tubes of grease around the oil store with the number two in them and wondered perhaps maybe what that meant. And of course, all products generally have certain letters that give some explanation about what we're looking at. So LC, for example, might be a lithium complex thickener. Number two refers to the stiffness. And what we have there is a number two grease, which, as you can see, as I hold the cup, nothing is happening. That grease is relatively stiff and is keeping its shape and it's not moving. But had you chosen the double zero grease, Harris, I would have warned you about spilling it on your shirt, because what will happen with the double zero grease is, of course, that is a lot more fluid like. In fact, the double zero grease and the triple zero greases are what is essentially a semi-fluid product. And the actual numbers come from what we say the NLGI, the National Lubricating Grease Institute, which is a body that is devoted to the cooperation of manufacturing on grease, and it's been around since the 1930s. I recommend you take a look at their website to find out more information. But what we do have from the NLGI is a way to categorize the stiffness of the grease, because apart from the viscosity of the oil itself that we have to consider when we're looking at a grease, we have to look at the stiffness. And of course, we've got two sort of extremes here: a double zero semi-fluid, which is moving like a fluid. And this one is actually a product built for things like steering racks on passenger vehicles. And it's ideal because as a semi-fluid, as that rack moves and the gears and the teeth on the rack are moving, that semi-fluid grease is lubricating all those gears nice and evenly. Whereas the number two is better suited to something like a rolling element bearing, where we want the thickener to be pushed to the outside to allow the oil to bleed in and lubricate the bearing, but to keep the thickener to the outside. So it kind of creates a groove in the grease. And this is why we don't want to overpack the bearing with grease, because if we put too much grease in there, the thickener gets in the way of the bearing, the elements that are rotating, and that causes drag. And drag is heat. And that's why your bearing temperatures will increase accordingly. So we want something that's a bit stiffer in a rolling element bearing, so it stays out the way but lets the oil in. And hence, it's a lovely, simple demonstration, but it's a great way to see the difference between them.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. This is what we fight very often against in trying to explain how does the ball rolling element in the bearing feel when he needs to fight through all this grease which is in the way and creates a drag and creates a lot of additional friction which is completely unnecessary. But what we see very often in industry is one shoe fits all. And that's okay. Let's make it simple. Let's make a purchase department decide what we need. Let's get a good price and discount on the quantity, and we'll find a grease that will fit absolutely all. And that's called as a universal solution. But that's never a solution. So I'm very glad we discussed this because that's something that really needs to be addressed.
Yeah, we commonly hear about the one size fits all for grease. Nobody talks about a one size fits all for oil. So why would we talk about a one size fits all for grease, especially as there are other issues as well, such as things like the coupling greases that need to have an oil that has a similar specific gravity to the thickness, so that as that coupling is rotating at speed, we don't get the oil separating out from the thickness. So yeah, valid point there.
Yeah, we hear that very often. It's a good remark. Why everybody is so careful about the oil and nobody cares about the grease? Why actually it's a vice versa. The grease is a very complex issue. It consists of minimum three elements. So there are a lot of things can go wrong. But unfortunately, still there is this idea of one shoe fits all. It's changing nicely and slowly, and we will arrive to some nice situations soon.
Well, I'm glad about one thing, that management haven't decided that there is an ice cream that one size fits all. I'm glad there's still different flavors.
Exactly. Now, when I was born back in 1960s, and let's say in this part of the world, you had one or two, maybe three ice creams. At least our ex-president liked to say so. But but at that time, so you wouldn't be choosing with your vanilla Magnum with white chocolate glazing.
No? So
No.
we're spoiled for choice now, are we?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, Martin. Thank you very
Great.
much for this meeting.
Well, thanks for looking in and brightening up my Monday afternoon.
Yeah, and thank you very much for the virtual ice cream, and hope to see you next Monday.
Great. Take care.
Bye-bye.